once again to discuss things.
Anyway, you ready?
Yeah.
Alright, hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Geeky Gentlemen, but you're not allowed to listen to this episode of Geeky Gentlemen because it's mine. Mine! It's part 2's, it's mine. It's mine. It's mine. It's mine. Who's that? Who's here?
It's me.
Who's taking... No, you can't take it. This is my episode. You can't talk. Shut up. Mine.
This is an intervention, Ian. This is an intervention.
Mine.
You're on
it's my
order
intervention.
right now.
It's mine. This is my intervention. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Geeky Gentlemen where we'll be talking about Larfleeze, the Orange Lantern, Agent Orange. So I really got into Green Lantern because of Jeff Johns' run, and I will give him a lot of credit for creating really clever ideas of what to do and not just make, evil military organization that uses a different color. In some of the ways in which he branched out the mythology, and I think Larfleeze is one of the most interesting ways in which he did that. How about you?
Definitely when I started reading, getting more and more into comics, it was just when the new Lantern Corps were coming about. Larfleeze was among them. Which I admittedly, who the hell's this guy? Who's this fucker, this furry Muppet Golem-looking motherfucker?
Yeah, he's got a very distinct look for him. I love Larfleeze's design, though no one can get it consistent, which is kind of annoying.
Yeah, especially the Star Trek crossover. Oh my god, he looks terrible in that.
Yeah.
He looked like the Grinch.
Mm-hmm. Which, I'm more okay with, and we'll get into that, but, so Larfleeze's got, a really interesting character design, and he's got just a dynamic that's completely different than any other character in the Green Lantern mythos, and to an extent, I have a hard time thinking of another character in comics, both DC and Marvel, that have much in common with Larfleeze. I think he's a pretty unique and standout character in that regard. Go ahead.
No, I thought you were done, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think it's interesting to note about Larfleeze is that even though, he kind of starts out as an antagonist, he kind of becomes his own entity that the other characters are just like, Jesus is Larfleeze. Or in Hal's case, he's dealing with someone with a mental illness.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because greed and avarice being the source of his power, it's kind of portrayed that way. That he can't help it, and it's portrayed kind of like an addiction in the comics, which, the better ones with him, I'll say. When it's handled well, it's it can be super fascinating. And then when it's handled poorly, it can be really, really bad. So here's the question. Did you read the Larfleeze standalone series in New 52?
No, I did not, because I read it, I already knew it was Larfleeze getting his own ongoing? What the fuck? I was like,
yep.
Why bother?
It is one of the most painfully stupid bad comics ever, but it's kind of aware of that, and so it's really fucking meta, and it's trying to do the Deadpool thing, but it's still doing it really, really poorly. So it's just this really fucking weird book to read where, every so often you legit get a laugh out of it, but it's just so goddamn stupid.
I guess they were trying to do hey, we can make Larfleeze our Deadpool. No, let's just stick with Harley.
Yeah, that's definitely what they were going for with it. And I don't want to shit on it too much because there were some ideas and dynamics created in that series that I really liked just as comic book parody stuff. Like, he owned a butler, and the butler was like an even more sarcastic and salty Alfred. And so that was really funny. And it just all the time really sarcastic ass comments to Larfleeze, but Larfleeze wasn't smart enough to get them. And so that just created like this. So like this guy would be trying to just cope with being a slave by making sarcastic comments, and like the only audience he has for them wasn't smart enough to understand him. So it was just like, damn it! It just added another level of annoyance that no one was getting his jokes. That was pretty funny. There's a point at which he saves a planet through no, like, not intentionally. It just happens. Just through happenstance, he saves a planet, and the grateful people say, "Oh, we must give you something. What do you want from us, Savior? Let us thank you properly." And he's like, "You want to give me something? Yes, anything you desire." Anything? And that's like the end of the issue, and then the next issue opens up, and it's just Larfleeze sitting on a throne of trash. He's like got these pieces of jewelry on like every one of his knuckles, and he's got like a fucking monocle in his eye. And it's one of the most iconic images of Larfleeze. So there's definitely good in the series, because like he just demanded every possession that everyone on the planet had. There's definitely good like Larfleeze moments in the series where they clearly got the character and had things to do with them. And then there's really, really stupid shit like Larfleeze is billions of years old, and his family's maybe still alive, and he gets caught up in a relationship with a cosmic entity and her crazy-ass family, but the cosmic entity's very forgetful and a ditz, and it's so confusingly stupid and bad. Hands down, one of the top 10 worst comic books I've ever read. So it's unfortunate his series wasn't very good, because I don't know, I feel like you could have done something fun with that, but it's just a mess and a half. What have you read with Larfleeze that you really like, though?
The Christmas one shot was really fun.
I love that. That is what makes Larfleeze a really interesting and good character, in my opinion. Is John showed that, you know, he can have this personhood to him. He can have this underlying humanity, and that's what kind of showed you Larfleeze as an addict, right? Or as someone who's just so consumed with their addiction that he doesn't know how to cope, and he's like alienated himself from his life.
Yeah, and you can see like in later like Green Lantern comics post like Blackest Night, you can see like Hal especially is like, yeah, he's not a threat to anybody as long as you leave him alone, but when I have to deal with him, it's like dealing with someone who needs, you know, like an intervention.
Yeah. And so this brings me to a question, because I haven't kept up with current Green Lantern continuity.
Neither have I, so this question's going to be lost on me.
Yeah, what the fuck happened to Larfleeze? Like, I feel like that's a pretty strong dynamic to have him be a returning character in the same vein as, like, Mxyzptlk or Bat Knight, as just this uber-powerful character who's, like, a complete fucking tool, and it just has to be dealt with every so often. I felt like that was a great dynamic to create for him as a returning character, and then he just disappeared.
Yeah, no, like... from what I understand, he's still out there, but nobody uses him.
I know. I don't know what the writers were thinking. Like, the last time I saw Larfleeze get mentioned or brought up in mainline continuity was when they were doing the whole Godhead thing, and one of the new gods stole his ring. And I'm like, what happened to him after that? Did he just never get it back? it's weird. I never know what happened with Larfleeze after that one, and it disappointed the hell out of me because, God, he's such a, and John set him up with such a great dynamic as to why he would keep returning. He's got a motivation. All you need to do is give him something he wants, and you've got a reason for him to be in the story. He's not a threat, but he's powerful enough to be a problem. I don't know what the hell they were thinking and why they haven't used him. So you mentioned the Christmas special, though. You saw the motion comic thing I made of that, right?
Oh yeah, you gotta pimp that out, right?
I mean, it's worth mentioning because I think like one thing I really like about that story is how much it lends itself to being a Christmas special. Just like I had a real vision for that thing, and I think I did a pretty good job of paralleling it with a lot of Christmas stuff, and just Christmas music fits that thing really well.
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk about how well that works as a Christmas special.
Honestly, that one, you could have easily done another one shot, but as a parody of How the Grinch Stole Christmas, but with Larfleeze.
Yeah, and I feel like that probably would have been the easier thing to do with Larfleeze. And so I'm kind of glad that it went off in the direction that it did. Like the Larfleeze Soul Christmas, that could totally be a thing that you could do, and it could be really interesting, or it could be really fun. Let me put it that way. And I feel like that's what happened in the DC Universe Online game. If anyone remembers that, like that's kind of what's going on. Is Larfleeze is like doing some kind of stealing Christmas thing. That could have been a thing that they did. I really like the choice they made instead to have Larfleeze really find the meaning of Christmas thing. That was such a like. Jeff Johns is a really good writer when he can just sit down and tell a story. What he gets lost in is trying too hard to branch out and just go for it. And make all these connections and all that shit.
I would even say, like, you could get away with doing a Christmas Carol with Larfleeze, or at least a version of it. Like, have, some, like, I don't know, Saint Walker as the ghost of representing Christmas past, Hal as Christmas present, and Blackhand or Atrocitus as future.
I mean, yeah, Blackhand, Atrocitus, or Necron could be future.
Yeah.
You could do a yearly Larfleeze Christmas special. I'd read the shit out of that. Like, Larfleeze, like, and I don't know, maybe he never properly learns his lesson or something, and that could be a problem, but fuck if I care. It's comic books. No one ever learns anything. No, that could be really cool. You got a point. All right, let's talk about some of the more just silly, goofy stuff. Larfleeze is ridiculously powerful. And there's a certain point at which when Johns was fleshing out the emotional spectrum, I thought it got to be a little much. But one of the little, like, role-playing-esque things that I thought really worked is the orange light is actually less powerful the more people it's spread out over. And that kind of came to a head in Blackest Night and stuff. But, like, there's that really iconic spread of all of the lanterns recharging their batteries, except Larfleeze doesn't do it. And then they have to spend a page getting Larfleeze to charge his battery because he doesn't want to waste his power because it's his. And then they get him to do it and shove his face in the lantern, and then it goes power level 100,000%. And I'm just like, holy shit. It's kind of nuts when you think about it on that scale.
It makes you wonder, like, if he wasn't so batshit out of his mind. It makes you wonder if he was competent. Oh my god, he could kill a whole planet if he wanted to.
Which is why I think it was interesting that they did that whole arc with Lex Luthor, and just dealt with the idea of Lex Luthor getting the orange ring, which is one of the few pair-ups that I thought DC pulled off really well in the Blackest Night thing. giving Lex the orange ring. But like, man, just there's that side of it, and then there's the fact that the power makes him dumber, because they at one point did a story, and you'll have to forgive me for not remembering where it happened at, but they at one point did a story where he was not only separated from the orange light, but like his dependence on it was removed, and he begged not to be given it back because he realized it had driven him insane, and it caused him to do nothing but want. It is like they really did treat it like an addiction, like a drug. And I think that's, that's not a mistake. I think that's been there since, day one with the character. Because in the original Agent Orange story, Hal tries to pull a move and just grab Larfleeze's battery away from him, and he is instantly overwhelmed by the power of the orange light. And like it goes to, oh man, Hal, you don't have to deal with all this. It's not you. You know what you deserve? You deserve a nice big cheeseburger with some fries and bacon on it and a shake. And like that's the light talking to Hal. And it's like, holy shit, that's like just the corrosive influence of the thing becomes so apparent that like you realize Larfleeze doesn't have a choice in what he's become because of the light. And that's really, really interesting. And I like that it's a commentary on addiction dialed up to 11 like comic books are wont to do. So we danced around design earlier. Do you have a favorite version of Larfleeze, which is more of a loaded question than it seems because so many people change up the design drastically?
I would say my favorite version is when he first appeared and he had like that long elongated snout and you couldn't tell if he had scales or fur. He looked like a mix between a monkey and a crocodile.
Okay. That one's really good. I prefer more of like a furry thing. I really, really love Brett Booth's art for him in the Christmas special issue. But I got a soft spot in my heart for the design for him in Green Lantern, the animated series. That really does get a streamlined version of the design down. He is very much furry there and not scaly, but I really, really do like that one.
Yeah, and they definitely built up Gollum aspect of him.
Yeah, definitely. And that's like a parallel a lot of people draw, but I feel like the addiction aspect of the light is played up a lot more with Larfleeze than the ring's power over the user was with Gollum. Or do you think that's unfair?
Well, the ring corrupted Gollum's mind for over 500 years, so...
Larfleeze has had the orange light for 12 billion years?
Well, like I said, like it's the same thing where it's like an object of a sentient object of its own, giving an unnatural lifespan to someone and making them do, only their only drive is to be with that object. That's the parallel I'm trying to say. I mean, I'm not trying to say like, the ring gave him longer life. No, I know Larfleeze has got Gollum's card on that.
Yeah, no, I feel like the addiction aspect of it is played up a lot more with Larfleeze than with Gollum. And we have retrospect, we have the things people found interesting about Gollum to play on as to why Larfleeze can be characterized that way. Larfleeze definitely takes a lot of inspiration from Gollum, though. And I think that's just such a cool thing to do for the character and throw him into that whole world, because Hal's got that whole Captain Kirk explorer adventure kind of thing to him. And so to have him come across the thing that was once a man in the cave, that's a really common trope. Gollum is a big example of it, but like This isn't like something that predates it, but it's just another example of the trope. Lawrence Fishburne's character in Predators has that kind of aspect to him.
Yeah.
That's a trope that is just part of the whole adventure storytelling. I'm trying to think of something. Like, there's something at the back of my head is picking at me about Greek myth doing something like this, and I can't.
Oh, you know what you're
place
probably
it.
thinking? It's not Greek. It's Norse. The Legend of Fafnir.
You'd have to explain it. I don't know it by name.
Okay, Fafnir was a dwarf who was so greedy, his greed turned him into a dragon.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's not at all what I was thinking of. I guess
But,
you could
like-
say like the Midas thing's kind of there. I don't know, like the whole shut-in thing feels like something I've seen in other stuff. And I'm getting like a Greek vibe to it, but I just can't place it in my head right now. If I were a proper reviewer, discussion podcaster, I would probably have done research.
Professionalism. That's funny.
Yeah, but like it's so cool to throw Larfleeze into the Green Lantern mythos like that and have him be that trope of a character. And I think it really, really works for him. Question though, do you think that makes him too one note? Like we discussed how John's kind of set up a formula to use for him that no one really ran with. Do you think it's because that makes him 1-2 note?
I don't know.
2-1 note.
I wouldn't say 2-1 note, but it's like he's just kind of a character that's kind of fun. But I can see why people would be like, oh, he wants something and he's so greedy and he's crazy. You know, I can see why not a lot of writers are turned on by that. And yeah, it didn't exactly go well as an ongoing now, did it?
It did not. I feel like giving him an ongoing was a mistake. He probably could have. There was enough good content in there that you could have done a mini. I feel you could have done a 5-issue mini and it would have been fine. That was a 2-volume run, so we're talking like at least 12 issues. That was a 2-volume run of bad. Like at one point they throw his orange battery into a black hole, and so he's just sighing and knows that the charge he has is all he'll ever have left of his orange power, and he's really depressed. And then eventually he runs out of it, but then like he runs out of the charge, his ring says, but then he's able to still use constructs, and they're like, why? And the butler has to theorize, I guess you spent so much time around the orange light, it saturated you, and now you've become the orange battery. I'm like, that's dumb. That's really stupid. You had this really interesting idea of what happens when you separate Larfleeze from his battery forever, and that was a fucking cop-out of garbage. But then there were other like fun things. Like he was written pretty funny, and that was certainly enjoyable. One thing in that series that I really liked was he's going across like to the seediest towns of scum and villainy to try to find leads on who stole his power battery, and like, you know, he's a fucking little cave monster that smells awful. And so every tough guy in the universe thinks they can just kick the shit out of him and not have to deal with him anymore. And his butler kept warning people not to do that. And then they kept trying to do it, and he just fucking beat the shit out of everybody. And that was pretty funny. So shit like that, I don't know, they definitely had some ideas, and I feel like that could have worked as a mini, but they fucked it up. By doing it as a full ongoing. I don't know, like, maybe he is a character that you can only do once every so often, and that's why he's just not been used anymore. I feel like maybe Jessica Cruz and Simon Baz have had to deal with him in recent years. I feel like I've vaguely heard something about that, but I can't be sure. Do you think that there should be a different character given the orange light, or do you think that it works to keep it as an original character?
I think what would be interesting, what they could do to bring him back, is that Larfleeze, like, another person is chosen, either it be original or a character we already have established, and they get the orange light, and it refuses to leave this other person. So Larfleeze now has to learn to share that power.
That could be interesting. Give him kind of like a, like, I don't know what you call that, kind of like a forced buddy cop dynamic.
Yeah, like, this other person is, has that kind of level to them, and now they have to, like, both consecutively learn to share this power, and they're constantly trying to backstab each other just to own all the orange light to themselves.
Yeah, that could be. I could see that. You could have done that with Lex, because that's what happened as soon as Lex got the power battery or the orange battery. Is Larfleeze just wanted to kick the shit out of him. So you could maybe do that with Lex or somebody.
I don't know. Like, I mean, if you were thinking of a character outside of Lex,
like original, do you think original characters should be created, or do you think there's a character in existence in DC who would work well for that besides Lex Luthor?
I would go original character, but if DC told me, if I was writing this comic and said, no, you have to use an established character, I'd probably go Penguin.
I could see it. That could be interesting. I don't know, like, I'm trying to think what else we can talk about with Larfleeze. Favorite feats and or moments? You got anything that you remember Larfleeze doing that you thought was just really cool or funny or whatever?
I would say one of my favorite moments is where he just flips his shit on a mall Santa.
That's brilliant. What lengths will Santa Claus go to deceive me? As he finds all the other fucking Santa Clauses. That was really good. I like that. Again, to just the scale of the power in the hands of a fucking heroin addict. I love that he sends his constructs to the Blue Lantern base to attack them because he wants a blue ring. That was just like, it's across the universe he's controlling constructs. That was fucking crazy. There's something we haven't talked about. The way in which Larfleeze produces constructs is super fucked. For those that don't know, if you attack Larfleeze, he can have one of his constructs attack you, consume you, and convert you so that just a version of you is now stored within the ring at his beck and call as his slave. And what's more, they retain sentience but can't do anything about it.
So you're literally living in a waking nightmare.
Mm-hmm. For billions of years, potentially. Like, Glomulus is actually a character with independent thought outside of Larfleeze. It's not just a puppet. Like when Hal Jordan makes a T-Rex, he imagines a T-Rex that's, like, ferocious or whatever, but the second he stops concentrating on it, the T-Rex fades away. Larfleeze not only doesn't have to concentrate on summoning Glomulus then just acts independently and only takes orders when they're directed at him. Like, there's a moment in Green Lantern New Guardians, which is one of my favorite Green Lantern books, where Larfleeze is about to kill Kyle over stealing Glomulus from him, and Glomulus has a conversation with Larfleeze telling him why he shouldn't do that. And it's super fucking meta. Because, like, everyone's so shocked and didn't realize that Glomulus actually thought independently. It's really, really weird. And that also kind of came back at him in his ongoing, where he put too much effort or something into some of his constructs, and so they constituted as intelligent beings with Orange Lantern rings. That was a weird one. It's a really odd one. Like they stopped being constructs and became beings again. It was really weird. That was one of the bad ideas. All right, what else can we talk about with Larfleeze? I know you probably didn't get the chance to read up on anything for quotes, but do you have a like line of dialogue, since Larfleeze usually has some really good ass dialogue that like always stuck with you?
Nothing that comes to mind. Like, I'm pretty sure after this conversation's over, I'm gonna be like, ah, fuck that line.
Yeah, I don't know. He's got some fucking great gems of dialogue, but like, there's a lot of lines in the Christmas special that I really like a hovercraft? You have a magical ring that can produce anything you can think of. What do you need a hovercraft for? They drive on land and sea. It's just so stupid. Oh man, I love it.
Here's something I like. You know those DC Looney Tune crossovers they do now yearly?
Oh my god, yes. Who?
We need Larfleeze and Daffy Duck.
Oh god, that would be beautiful. Yes, I totally agree. Yeah. That would work really well. Either Larfleeze and Daffy Duck or Larfleeze and Michigan J. Frog. Oh, that could be so much fun. Larfleeze totally fits the dynamic for a Michigan J. Frog cartoon.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be perfect. Like, the comic crossovers are great. We really need some of these in animation as shorts. That could be super fun.
Yeah. Like,
man, those are good.
Like, when they announced that Daffy Duck was going to have a team up with Joker, I was like, really? Not Larfleeze?
I could see that. I could see it. But yeah, I think the Larfleeze is probably a better pick.
It should have been...
I mean, to be fair, I thought Batman and Elmer Fudd was the strangest combination ever.
And yet that comic was awesome.
Right, yeah. I'm sorry, you're going to say it should have been Joker and who?
And the Dodo.
Maybe. I don't have as much. I don't know, the Dodo's got very little character to me. I can see the argument for Joker and Daffy. If it, like, you're thinking, you know, kind of more what Daffy Duck became, I think the approach there is going to be more like, woo, 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 Daffy, kind of Daffy Duck. But that's neither here nor there. Alright, so Larfleeze stuff, what to recommend. So, obviously, ultimate recommendation is going to be the Christmas special. Hands down, best Larfleeze story. Really, really like it. Also going to recommend his episode of Green Lantern, the animated series, as well as his initial appearance in the Agent Orange trade.
Okay, I would say those and his time in New Guardians.
Yeah, that's good stuff too. It's not in it a ton, but like the issue where he teaches Kyle how to use the orange light's really interesting. You know, if you want it, you've got to take it. That was a pretty cool Larfleeze line too. All right. Well, Dimplezilla, who will we be discussing next time?
Well, I was thinking not one character, but 3 characters. And they all come together to be Ed, and Eddie.
Oh, okay. Sounds like fun.
I was like, oh my god, that's amazing. Hence the dramatic flair.
I don't know. Sorry. All right. Yep. Ed, and Eddie.
Yep.
All right. Sounds good. See you there next time. Everyone, thank you very much for watching. Until next time, I'm the Philosopher.
And I'm the Don Juan of Comic-Con.
And we are your geeky gentlemen. And we will be discussing things.